Good morning, world. Oh, it is in the UK. I'm going to start these periscopes off with a bit of preamble, give people who want to join a bit of time to join and understand what we're talking about. But it's early in the UK, it's just after 9. Could be that no one else is up. Hello. Oh, how do you say that? Voz. Hello. Is it good morning or good afternoon or good evening where you are? Hi, Mags. Hi, good morning, good evening. Love to know where you're calling from. So I'm going to give a couple of seconds to just let some people join before we start. Good morning, Mags. That's lovely. You're shining a light on negativity is what I thought we'd do this periscope about this morning. And if you notice my attire, that is very bright. Morning, Wookie. I've deliberately left that on. I was just about to go for a shower. I've just been up for a run, but I thought actually that ties in quite nicely with what I wanted to talk about. Dressing brightly can make a difference for those looking at us and for the way we feel ourselves. But also the point that I'd just been for a run. Whether I feel low, tired, or anxious, going for a walk or a run for the purposes of going for a walk or a run, not just to go from A to B, never fails to make a difference to my mind when I return. Well, apart from the fact I'm always saying, oh my God, I'm so tired and I'm exhausted, but it's a great way of letting off tension, great way of getting the head reset, if you will. So true. I think it's really important to notice the nature while you're out, or whatever is about. Massive stress relief, yeah, that's why I go running. I go running 3 times a week. I do about 6 kilometres or 3.5 miles or so. Not particularly fast, it's more of a jog really. But it's not about competition. I take about 40 minutes, which is more than enough for me and my old bones. And it really, I think when I go out for a walk rather than a run for an hour, and it's a mindful walk, and I'm taking in everything that's around me, using all my senses, whatever I might be able to smell, probably can't taste anything. What I can hear, definitely hear that. The sounds of nature, even if it's traffic. I'm not judging anything with my senses, but when I'm actually being there on that walk, appreciating what's around me. After 20 minutes or so of that, whatever I left the house with, the problems, the challenges, starts to dissipate. And within that second 20 minutes, I start to relax and I'm just enjoying the walk. By the third 20 minutes, the third trimester, if you will, problems start to resolve and solutions start to surface. By the time I've got home, I'm a new man, which is handy if you're a bloke. Thank you, I feel like I'm in therapy. That's good. We like that. Good morning, Port Robot. That's an incredible name. Negativity. So a lot of negativity, and as with anxiety, is around perception and how much we water the negative thoughts is how strong and how much they're going to be nurtured. A bit like a muscle, the more time I spend with negativity, the stronger it's going to get. Mags, I always head for water, I walk along the river. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have that too. What's happening, Luke? Morning, Luke. We're talking negativity and getting the mind balanced and a bit more sorted, trying to find some perspective even on a Sunday morning if it is morning where you are. So you've noticed I'm talking mindfulness again, which is a core component of pretty much everything I do. It's not always been that way, it's been about 5 or 6 years. But I'm a new person since I started that mindfulness. I used to suffer with depression and a lot more anxiety than I do today. And as a result of my journey of coming to much more peace, I did become a counsellor, wanting to share the journey that worked for me and the keys that I was able to turn that worked with others. There's no point holding on to this wonderful knowledge. I might as well share it. And in fact, it gives me great pleasure to do so. Love to know what negative thoughts you guys have got, without trying to put a downer on things. Something that is repetitive for you, something that lasts more than a few weeks, I think is when it becomes a problem. To have some doubt is natural and healthy, actually, around things. That's okay. Other ways of describing negativity might be pessimism, of course. Who do you mix with? Do you mix with people who are always bringing you down, the energy vampires, those people who suck the energy out of you and you feel absolutely exhausted having spent time with them? Who do you meet with? You know, if there's groups of people, are they always moaning, always telling you how bad the world is and everything in it? We get to choose. We can spend more time listening to inspirational things, reading inspirational stuff, and maybe reducing the amount of impact or the amount of time we spend watching the news. I call it having a news fast. You know what's going on in the world, but don't have it 24/7, because it's going to be the same stuff most of the time anyway, isn't it? Sensationalist. Walk, you've got to surround yourself with positive people, absolutely. And it's such a fundamental, easy thing to do, relatively. Depends how sociable you are. It can be more tricky if you're an introvert, and I am an introvert. But just choosing, be mindfully aware of who you're spending time with. Birds of a feather flock together. Yeah, love that. Love that. I should use that more often. Thanks, Walkie. But it's not about saying everything's fine when it's not. It's about what's the reality. Is this moment, this distress I might be feeling at the moment, this negativity, going to define the rest of my life? And if it is, am I saying that that's down to other people? And if that's the case, then I'm putting my happiness in the hands of others. Is that reasonable? Is that sensible? I think I was a lifelong victim, always blaming others, always thinking, you know, it's not fair. But actually, we can make conscious choices, how happy we tend to be or want to be by doing the right things, healthy actions. So sometimes we're going to wake up, we're going to feel depressed. Sometimes we're going to wake up and feel less than. Key thing is not to push that away, and also not to ignore it. A key thing is to actually say, you know what, today I don't feel as good as I wish that I might, but the fact is, it's a down day. Maybe it's a duvet day. So I'm going to accept that right from off the bat. If I can do that, I can manage the rest of my day a bit more carefully as well. You know, if I've got a journey to work by car or public transport or whatever, where I'm always getting annoyed at a certain junction within that journey, I can perhaps choose something different. I can avoid the things that push my buttons that I can normally cope with. But today, because I'm feeling down, let's do something different. Let's try and avoid those things. Now, short-term avoidance is okay. We don't want to do that forever, of course. Lots of people joining. Lovely to see you all. Thank you. Let me know if you've got a repetitive negative thought that invades your life and your thoughts, leaving you feeling pretty crap. I'd love to open up some discussion on that. I have to say, I don't very often feel depressed these days. I do get occasional bouts of it, but quite rare. But if I do, it's because I know that I've been working too hard and I haven't been honouring my emotions. I haven't been managing them, looking after myself. So I have found the keys to my lifelong depression, I have to say. It's not going to be the same for everybody. It depends on your journey, on your experiences, on your genetics to a point. But what can you do to improve your life rather than relying on others? If you can hear some noise in the background, by the way, I'm afraid it's Arthur, my dog, chewing a bone. He's rolling around like a loon. I ought to show you Arthur, didn't I? Bear with. Arthur, what are you doing? Shameful you are, shameful. Arthur! Hey, say hello to the world. Oh dear. There's another thing that helps with negativity and finding compassion for ourselves and others when we have a pet or another sentient being that we can look after. Funny thing about dogs and well, dogs actually, not cats. We've got a cat as well, but dogs is their love's unconditional. Here he comes. Hiya. It's unconditional. They just love you because they do. They don't tend to make judgments, and we do a lot of that, don't we? So to compare things, and I think that's one of the key things that causes negativity again. Here's another component part that I lost in finding peace from depression. That was... Sorry, just a moment. Arthur, come here. Sorry, it's just about to. Thank you. Oh, the rocks. Coming to join me. Wanting things to be different. If I want things to be different, and it's not necessarily aspirational, I'm just complaining, then I'm in prison. I'm in some psychological prison. When I believe that when this happens, when I get a new job, when I get a new relationship, when I get a pay rise, when I get a new house, when I go on holiday, when I've lost weight, if all those things are what it takes, or any one of those things for me to be happy, then I'm in prison. And here's the worst thing about it. When I achieve those things, does it bring me lifelong happiness, individually or collectively? And generally it doesn't. We get to where we think we want to be, and only to realise it doesn't scratch the itch. And then we're off again, looking for something else. Another thing I went through life doing, I didn't appreciate all the things I was achieving. And having a tough upbringing does make us more driven in some ways quite often. I achieved just about everything I ever wanted to. I've had a very, very successful career in medicine. I'm a former paramedic. And I had a great time. What an honoured profession it was. But each time I achieved the things within the paramedic profession and within management and in business, I never really was able to celebrate it. It just sort of came, and then, right, what's next? Think about if you've ever bought a car, whether it's brand new or used. You know, you get it and you're so proud, and you're really mindful at the moment because you're looking at it, you're looking at every part of the car, how all of it works, admiring the bodywork perhaps. And then look on a month later, mindlessly walking, opening the car, sitting in it, driving off, and it's just another car. It's a quick hit. And it's the same with a job. It's the same often with a relationship, sadly. Same with money. None of those things that you think you want that'll make you happier generally will make you happier. There's a great saying, happiness is an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. It really is. The irony is, when you find your own contentedness and become happier with your own life and at peace, those things that you thought you wanted that will make you happy, you don't want anymore. I'm not saying you won't have them. I'm not saying you wouldn't enjoy them if you got them. But they don't define whether or not you're going to be happy or not. And I think that's the key difference. I'm much more at peace, earning a lot less money these days than I was when I was working up to 18 hours a day, killing myself with stress and poor routines and rituals, trying to prove something, trying to improve my self-esteem and everything else, comparing myself to others. I haven't had any suggestions yet. Is anybody going to come up with any topics they'd like to talk about? You don't. I won't mention your hand or anything, but if you want to just chuck some ideas at us about things that get in the way and possibilities around ways of getting around with them, I agree with you, Bob. Thank you. Exactly. Has anyone got any thoughts? What's negative for me these days? I think money's always a thing, isn't it? Finance. Whether we're in debt, whether we've got enough, whether we just want more. I think knowing things will pass, as with anxiety, I think knowing things will pass tends to help. Acknowledging that I might be struggling for cash at this moment, for instance, rather than saying, oh God, I'm stuck for cash, am I going to be out of the house next? If you're not going to be really kicked out of the house, explore that reality. Accept that money's tight right now, but know also that it will change. None of these states are permanent unless we choose for them to be. We get to decide. We're not a victim. We might have periods of being a victim because we haven't made conscious choices or not aware of the impact others are having on us. But most of the time it's our choice. Yeah, quite a lot this morning. Got a couple of comments coming in, but obviously this is a difficult subject for many. Strangely enough, depression and negativity are something I see less of compared with anxiety. You might think they come hand in hand, and to some point they do, but anxiety is much greater. Maybe that's why it's a bit quieter this morning with the comments. Mags, thank you. Negative self-talk is my area of self-improvement at the morning. Yeah, I think that's our inner dialogue. What are we saying all the time? It's a tricky one as well. We have to slow down before we can actually catch our thoughts. Oh, that's very nice of you. More people need to speak to watch Bob. You speak sense. Don't tell my wife. Thank you for that. It's really kind. Yeah, our inner dialogue is critical actually to our well-being. If we're, our body and our mind is our house, and we don't keep that house tidy and clean and healthy, shall we say, then it's a dumping ground for negative emotions, isn't it? If we keep bringing, excuse my language, but if we keep bringing shit into the house, then horrible stuff's going to grow out of that, and it's going to smell and it's going to be stinky. But if we put the crap outside, we can perhaps have some fertile ground there for thinking about what hurts us, what doesn't. What we think often is what we become. And if I think happier, positive thoughts, because I found an alternative, not because it's happy clappy, then I'm more likely to be predisposed to happier thoughts. I'm more likely to be more optimistic about the possibilities. I'm more likely to be realistic around what's actually happening at the moment. Can you explain to my friend how her husband has been groomed by an online honey trap? No, I can't. That's not my area at all. I don't know if that was a sensible question or a serious question or not. I'll take it not. I don't know. No, sorry, I'm not. That's not something for my serious. Right. No, I couldn't explain. Serious, deadly serious. Oh, okay, let's have a look at it because there's nothing else coming at the moment. If somebody's been groomed, yeah, that would probably be down to self-esteem, though, wouldn't it? If I'm looking for approval from others online, and I'm looking for affection online, then there's got to be a chance that my relationship isn't great. Firstly, with myself, I should say, and secondly, with my partner. If I'm seeking reassurance elsewhere and I'm responding to flirtatious advances or whatever, then there's clearly something wrong with my self-esteem. Because I wouldn't be looking for that approval if I'm happy. I wouldn't be falling into an online trap, a honey trap. But it's temptation, isn't it? And discipline, self-discipline. None of us are perfect. And all of us can have low periods of time where we might be tempted by something that feels attractive, that makes us feel good, actually. We all want to be wanted, we want to be accepted. And I am aware of how insidious some of these traps can be, with tragic circumstances, actually. Literally, with people taking their lives over it. So I apologise if I was taking that lightly. I wasn't sure if that was a serious question at first, but thank you for that question. I hope that answers it in some way. I would suggest that if they're suffering as a result of that online honey trap, that they do get some counselling or some therapy, or not because of what they've done, not because they need to be judged, but to understand the impact of what's happened, because ultimately that feels like being bullied. They've been assaulted psychologically as a result of that. Thank you for that question. That's great. Lots joining. I have no idea where you're joining from. Oh, that's not good. Going to remote area to meet her. That's clearly risk-taking. Nobody in the right mind is going to recommend that kind of behaviour, to go to a remote area of a country known that not only for its beauty but for terrorism and what's the word I'm looking for? People taking is what I'm looking for, but I can't remember the term I'm looking for on this Sunday morning. We can't force people to not do unhealthy behaviours, of course. We can only point them in the direction and share our concerns because we love them or because we care about them. But ultimately, people are responsible for their own happiness and their own choices. And sometimes when we tell people not to do things, they tend to do it more. So with that, with the person who's going to travel and take a huge risk, they need acknowledgement of why they're doing it. They need to make their own choices. If they're doing it with the full knowledge that there's a huge risk, that it might not pay out. And that's a reverse of negativity. That's risk-taking, because that's extreme risk-taking in search of something that's going to make them better. When I meet this person in this strange country in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be so exciting. It's going to be wonderful. Yeah. Well, it might be. Who knows? Sometimes we have to try these things, but I think there's a limit to risk. Due diligence might be required there. How many other questions this morning? Okay, I really ought to get in the bath now because I'm sitting here leaning against a towel after my run. thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching if you're watching on replay. Really appreciate it. Have a great day, whatever you're doing. Thank you, Debbie. And if you are feeling low today, do take care of yourself. Do just recognise it's a down day and that it will pass. It always does if you allow it to be. Thanks, Amy. Right, take care, guys. I'll speak to you again soon. Best wishes. Bye.